All right, we're live. So let me just
Yep.
share. There we go. It's so weird. So the way, hey everybody. So this is so weird. I can't share two cameras. I have a Sony DLR, whatever, say 6000 for right there for me, and then for the art, I got like 1080p webcam, right? And I can't share two cameras on the restream. The only
That's
way I can share, yeah, the only way I can get this to work is if I run the webcam through OBS, right? And then
oh,
share the screen from an OBS.
right. It's like
it's
I
so
know what you're doing.
it's so ghetto. It's super janky, but it does work. Uh, it does work. So we're gonna do some inking, folks. All those. Are you a traditional artist? Well, we're about to make some traditional art. We'll give everybody a chance to join in here for a second.
Oh yeah. Get everybody to come back in and say hi.
So I'm gonna be doing this for about 2.5 hours.
That sounds good. I have a meeting today at 12:30. Gotta doing a cover commission for a book,
Oh, nice.
not a comic book, a book.
Ooh, they probably better rates anyway.
Yeah, you could say that.
Yeah,
Oh, no, really.
going to.
Yes, you know what.
Start here in a second. Let me just go to this.
Yeah. So I got a lunch meeting today, which I'm looking forward to. It's also good that I picked the restaurant, so even better. Now, if he doesn't like the restaurant, I'm probably screwed. But hey,
Right. All right. What? Don't do that. All right. Okay. All right. Let's get busy.
do you want to get down? Is that it?
Start with the small shit, cause
You going to work on Splinter?
yeah, I'll just start with his microscopic fucking bullshit because
That's what I figured.
it'll my eyes will settle in a little easier.
Mm.
So I mean, I have still have excellent vision up close, but I've never been able to been like, ooh, like I just can't, you know, get that close. So the trick is I just refuse to strain. So like when I'm looking, so like I have to just kind of like keep my eyes open, relax. Not let the
Oh,
nib come
Ashley is
into
back.
play. Hey, what's up, Ash? What's up, son?
Should get her to come on and hang out with us.
Huh? She's always welcome on, but she's also doing her thing.
Yeah, that's true.
I used to sit here and make all this perfectly legible, like with a 4H pencil, like lead holder, and I gave myself serious carpal tunnel,
Yeah, I
like
could see that.
stressing over like lines, and so like that's actually why I switched over to digital in 2008, because like I was like I'm killing my knuckles here, like I
Mm.
can't I can't do this, and so I just figured digitally like I wouldn't have to, I could control pressure, I wouldn't have to worry
Mhm.
about. And actually, like between that and then like I started using the microns 4 years later, and then don't have carpal tunnel no more. But that was a scary year there. Like,
I,
no.
yeah, I could see that. Carpal tunnel
Hey, what's up,
sucks.
sir?
Hey, Jamie.
Yeah, you can't be sitting here like I see Brandon do it like when I watch him draw. He's like, and I'm like, what are you doing, dude? Just relax your hand. A lot of that just comes from like you don't trust yourself, like
Yeah. You don't trust the line you're throwing.
it's also why I like when I do traditional inks, I just don't care if it's perfect. I'm not gonna sit here and like make everything. I tend to like ink more angularly,
Hmm.
and I'm like, fine. Like, that's just how it looks when I use traditional inks. You want it more roundish, I'll go digital. But I'm not gonna sit here and be like, I'm just not doing that.
Yeah.
Like, same with like the scribbly stuff. Like, I mean, we've all seen me sit here for 16 hours on one color pencil piece, and now I'm doing them in like 2 hours, and I'm telling you that I think they look better like at the
I'm
two
loving your
hour thing.
Scribbly pieces. They're so much fun.
I just think it's funner looking into a leg and seeing all this weird scribble versus like looking at a leg and seeing some smooth color pencil. I mean, so
I
like
look.
like I
I
mean
zoomed in
the
a lot on one of yours the other day, and I was like, "Yep, it's Scribbly."
oh yeah, it's no joke. I mean like the Harlequin came out nice, but it's just like I have to sit here for how long doing this, like and so um yeah, it's just kind of a confidence issue. It's like I remember now that I get like I had someone yesterday who was like bringing up some of the Overwatch ones I did with the plushy stuff. I'm like, what about this? I'm like, I'm not doing any of that. And the time it takes me to do that, I could do like three of these.
Mm.
Like there's no cost benefit. I mean, we want to pay 3 grand for that. No, well then there you go. Like that's and even then, I'm telling them like I think this looks like you think this might look better. Just some people have this opinion. I mean, you think this might look better, but I'm telling you, you can stare at the scribbly one over and over, right?
Yeah.
I always had that like you'd go to the doctor's office when I was a kid, like, and they'd always have like some piece of like modern art or something on the wall. But every now and then, someone would have like a painting that I could get into, and it always had like you could see like the canvas texture where it wasn't so perfect. And I could just stare at the weird nonsense, for
Yeah. I
like
know
an hour
exactly
while
what
I
you
was
mean.
waiting there. Yeah. And so I'm like, I just wanted that part to the color. I don't want, this like, here's how to perfectly blend. Fuck perfectly blending. Like, perfectly blending is not producing a better result, I feel. Hey, what's up, Brian? Hey, my little bro. That's my step bro.
Oh, cool.
How you doing, Brian? I drew him at Casey Jones when we first met, like in 91, 92, 92, somewhere around there.
Cool.
I remember where it was the San Diego Sky Show. So, across from Jack Murph before it was Qualcomm.
Nice. Are you annoyed that I'm not paying attention to you? Probably. And you jumped into my clean laundry. Of course. Because cat.
Nah, I can't really get comic book publishers on board with me with some of this stuff, so it's like, oh well. Hence the digital inks, but I've been getting those times down pretty good. Like,
Mm. I love your idea of Splinter, especially that he's piloting a mech Moser.
yeah, I came up with that a long time ago. Like, it was actually when I saw the movie Inner Space. I was like, he had like a little thing, like, and then like if you remember Voltron was the other thing was like on
Yeah.
Voltron or Go Lion, whatever, fucking
Yeah, I figured you meant Go
King of
Lion.
Beasts Go Lion. But yeah, but when I was a kid, it was Voltron. I didn't see King of Beasts Go Lion the full dub until much later in life. But the little mouses had their own Voltron within the palace. They had a little tiny one.
Ashley, oh my god, my cat does that too, so I stuffed the basket so full she can't get in.
Right.
Yeah, yeah, I tried that.
Just home from work. At the age of 21, how long did you spend behind her? At 21, 22, I was in college, art college, and I was not drawing much at all in art college. Um, that seems weird, right? But like I got in there, supposed to be a 2D animation curriculum, and I thought, all right, this will make me a better artist. And they all switched us to 3D. So, really quickly. So I got to spend about a year doing 2D animation, and then it was all 3D. So right before then, at 21, before I joined, I was still working security full time, but I would draw during security. So I mean, I was spending at least 8 hours a day, you know. But there was a time between 22, 23 where I wasn't drawing like anything of real importance much during the week at all. So what I would do is I would spend my time, since I worked at Kinko's and I was going to school full time, I would spend my days doing line practices, and it's where you do these dots. You draw these lines, dot 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 this, dot this, dot this, and then further out to build my hand proficiency. So this is why when I'm inking now, it goes where my eye wants it. Like wherever I'm looking, my hand goes now because of that. So I would do that and gesturals. I could sit there and look at people and sketch them like in a minute. Even at Kinko's, I could do those on post-its, and then check them, really quickly. And so I always found a way to get drawing in, but nothing completed. I'd say between ages 23 to 24, I had no completed, like, finished art to speak of at all. It was just 2 years of that until I get to 2005, the end of 2004, beginning of 2005 is when things sort of chilled out at school. It was mostly portfolio based as you head out, so I was able to then start to do that again. It's 4 or 5 hours, sometimes half hours, run out of idea. Yeah, that's where the gesturals come in. Like, I mean, at your age, man, like, if you got the time, I'd really just hone in on fundamentals because, like, get real good at, like, drawing small, get real good at taking that, blowing it up, and drawing that, take it to the next level, make a real big version of that gestural, flip it, reconstruct it, you know.
I can definitely attest to that. I mean, when you got me do back to fundamentals and I started like redoing everything, it really helped. So
It certainly didn't impress any of my friends. None of them were like, "What do you got?" And I got all this scribble shit, but I'm like in construction and gesturals, but it's like now they're like, "Oh, Rob put the work." In." I'm like, "Yeah, I put the maybe too much work in, I'll admit, but um, at the same time, like if you hand me a script and it's like, oh, there's an airplane or there's something where they're sitting in a car talking, I don't fear any of it. You know what I mean? Oh, okay, I don't care. Because to me, all I see is a volume.
Yeah,
I'm in a cube or I'm outside a cube.
yeah,
I'm in a
basically.
sphere. I'm outside a sphere. You don't really care about the specifics of the detail. Like get a piece of reference art if you need a specific car, and then
Yeah,
who cares?
then you just go
But
with it.
make sometimes I thought I had no talent at all. That makes me nah. Look, man. Not everyone is born like with the ability to be like an amazing illustrator. Like some people are. That's why, when people point to me like the best of the best, Rob, like, was that Zhang Ji dude? Like, he's super fucking good. Or they'll show me Joe Mad, and I'm like, yeah, those are what we call geniuses. I'm
Yeah.
not an art genius. I'm like a guy, I'm like, the rest of us have to really put the work in. And so what I care about is being able to be like, hey, Rob, you did this turtle, but can you do 10 of them? I want to be able to reproduce my successes, right?
Hmm.
And so that's all you really have to focus on is like being able to make sure that whatever you do is reproducible and it's not like some fluke. That's the problem with happy accidents. It's like, yeah, it was an accident. Can you do it again and again and again and again?
Yeah.
And then find something. Try a little bit of everything to find out what there's going to be something. There's going to be something you're just naturally good at, and it may not be what you had anticipated. And if you'll know what that is. It doesn't have to do with like so it doesn't really have to do with being good at it. It has to do with like your comfortability. Like you just when you're doing it, you're like, I'm having a great time. This is something that you sort of have a natural inclination to do. And for me, that's always been color pencil. So it's weird because I didn't do any color pencil work from 2000, the year 2000 to 2014, 13. I
Damn.
don't know, somewhere around it. Might be 15. Yeah, it was like 15 years where I just didn't do anything because I did this big color pencil piece for a friend,
Oh,
and
I know the story.
she, yeah, and I really killed my knuckles, and it really had to do with the fact that I was working on the shittiest fucking paper you could. I was just whatever I had, and I was using Prismacolors, which, you know, is a pain, um, but I just feared that knuckle pain so much.
That's a way of looking at it. Don't practice till you get it right. Practice until you never get it wrong. Hmm.
That's about right. I mean,
Yeah.
it just depends on what that means to certain
To
folks. But
you.
that's why sometimes you'll just see me posting pictures of like, oh, now I'm just drawing buildings and weird construction shapes and shit. Like it doesn't help the algorithm, but I don't fucking give two shits about that algorithm. Like it don't mean nothing to fucking me. So, and I bet you I could take that weird stuff I do with perspective, blow it up on a canvas. You know what I mean? Spend like maybe the better part of 6 months to a year fucking around with some opaque paints and paint some weird shit in there. You know what I mean? And have some fucking fine abstract art.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
So there's always something you can do. Like, but you got to do enough of everything to kind of figure out what that is.
Was it? I was doing some of my was it page layouts, and somebody was like, "How do you make them like so weird and work?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I just looked at a ton of other artists I loved and just kind of laid out random pages till I kind of got a feel for it." Ugh, ugh. Make the layouts work.
Or one of these songs on a page come out here. Yeah, right.
Now, you're sitting on my printer and meowing at me. I'm not coming over there.
Yeah, I just lost too much money going to cons, Brian. That's why I stopped going. To make money at cons, you got to do one of two things. You have to really be into like the print game, and you gotta monetize that across like 20 cons.
Yeah.
Um, I don't enjoy that. And then two, you have to have a name. So that's where it is.
Leave your brother alone. Yes, you. Ugh. Yes, I got you. You're lucky you're cute.
I remember once speaking of my little brother, I was at a on his side of the family. It might have been his birthday, I think it was, or someone's birthday. We were having this party at like his uncle's place. It was his side of the family, and I'm drawing, right, because that's what I
Mm-hmm.
do. And his family was super nice to me, but one of them comes up, older cat, right, older dude. And I mean, I want to say like in the 60s or something. I think it was his like great uncle or something. He comes up to me, and goes, and I had rotated the page because I was drawing like a Superman or something like a Superman, like flying, right? I was like, all right, I need to rotate the page. And he goes, a real artist wouldn't have to rotate the page. And I was like, oh, shit, all right, So I was sitting there doing that and having the fucking worst time of it, and thinking, all right, whatever. It's weird. It's funny. I get home, right, and I'm just sitting there, and then KTLA was Los Angeles Channel. They would play Popeye cartoons, right,
Yep.
and they would always have like an animator sitting there, and he's sitting at an animation desk, and the animation desk rotates. It's got the
Yep.
the circular, and you sit there and he rotates this thing, right, and he's like drawing Popeye. So I'm like, what motherfucker? Oh, I'm rotating the pages. It's funny. That's what I learned early on. Like people mean well, you know what I mean? But it's just like you gotta be careful sometimes with the advice you get from folks. Like, all right, then one of those
Remar's
times I
supposed
just
to do
bring the whole
this
family down to San
bullshit.
Diego. I know, right? Yeah, we'll work it out, Brian. We'll definitely hook up again at some point, man. For reals, dude. Don't even stress. But it was super funny. I was like, all right, so guess I'm not a real artist. That's fake
No,
artists.
I'm a
That's
fake
what I tell
artist
people.
too, man.
I'm an imaginary artist. I tell them I'm just pretending to do all this.
Yes, I put my hair up in a ponytail. And that means you're going to try to attack it.
You watch comics, kayfabe, Allison?
Oh, God, yeah. I don't catch
So
every episode.
if people aren't aware of the channel Comics Kayfabe, it's Ed Piskor and Jim Rugg. They do like they read old issues, they interview people. If you like comics, and they kind of filtered it through a lens of like pro wrestling talk, but they're really good.
Yeah.
Um, a while back they had was it is it David Cho? I
Yep.
want to say his name, Dave Cho on,
Yeah, they
and
do.
they were going through an issue of was it Raphael issue 1, which is the one shot of Raphael with Casey Jones, which I always found
Hmm.
weird because the cover it looked like his bandana was purple. Like I was like, why
Yeah,
is
it
his
kind of did,
bandana
didn't
purple?
it?
Yeah, yeah, because I first saw that art on the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles calendar that came out like in 1990,
Hmm.
and I thought, oh, That must be Donatello. Because I in the movie, like it was him and Donatello that were hanging out in the barn, right?
Yeah.
So, anyways, it isn't. But they were talking about turtles. It's a great conversation. I don't want to spoil that. But one of the things they had mentioned, which I hadn't really even been aware of, was, and I guess they had. I have to watch it. I haven't watched it yet, but I guess Peter Chung, creator of like Aeon Flux, um, he was the one who was on the animation team for Turtles. So the April with the jumpsuit is his design. Krang and all that stuff was his design.
Oh, that's
He
neat.
storyboarded the entire opening sequence, which is why it's like super dynamic and shit. It's all Peter Chung. Like
Oh,
it's
that makes sense.
crazy. Yeah, when you think about like what are the fucking odds that they'd get that fucking lucky, to have that dude on. Not only was the card, I mean, not only was the everything about the turtles was like people say it's the greatest American story. I'm like, it's the greatest luck story of all fucking time.
Oh God,
Because
yes. They were so goddamn lucky.
who conjures up like a name that's as fucking cool as that? You know what I mean? With designs that sort of appeal to like I always saw them as Ninja Muppets to like kids and adults. At the time when like the right at this black and white explosion where you could do a black and white indie comic through the mail,
Yep.
or direct into stores, in the direct market. And then they got a publishing deal into Crown Books with First Publishing, so it was like they were in bookstores when how many comics were really in bookstores. And then they end up on a cartoon in the toys, and on the cartoon they got fucking Peter Chung. It's just so.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I've hung out with Kevin Eastman a few times. Like I actually colored something of his. If you buy, he did these figures called Biz and Buzz, Biz
Oh,
and
you did
Buzz.
those? Nice.
Yeah, which I have right here. Biz and Buzz, and Biz and Buzz on a store comes with the comic. I have it somewhere else in storage, but it comes with the comic, and that comic was colored by me.
Nice.
So Kevin Eastman paid me to do that, and but I've hung out with him on the phone and in person a couple times. So like he's super fucking cool, man. He's as nice as you'd imagine him to be in real life. So
The last time I hung out with Kevin Eastman, I was a lot smaller, like 6. Not even. No, yeah, about 6, 7, something like that. I was at the show where they debuted Turtles, and I got
we're in
a few
Connecticut,
copies. No, it was in New Hampshire.
New Hampshire. That's right, New
Yep.
Hampshire.
Yep.
Yeah, I never thought to ask him about like that stuff. The only thing about turtles I asked him about was at the time was about duo shade and stuff because I didn't know about like how'd you get all those tones? He's like duo shade. I mean, everyone knows now, but this is before the turtles anthology book and stuff. So
Yeah.
like I didn't know.
The Duo Shade was great.
Aeon Fox was a dope show. No offense, I thought it was super. I love Liquid Television, Aeon Fox, and everything. I love all that stuff. And then later oddities with the Max. A lot of
Yeah.
people think the Max was on Liquid Television. I'm like, no, it was on
It was
oddities.
on oddities. No, it was that and the
Yeah,
brain or something like that. The
yeah.
head.
The
The head.
head.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I used to watch those. Turtles was the comic that convinced me that anyone can draw comics, especially if you go come up with a crazy idea.
Well, like I said, Yonan Vasquez describes it as they could tell humans were behind the art. And what I really feel like is I just feel mainstream comics are over rendered.
Yeah.
I've always felt that way. Like even in the '90s, it was one of the reasons why I gravitated to like, McFarlane or Liefeld and those guys was, and actually not as much to Jim Lee was because the lines weren't so perfect. I mean,
Yeah.
McFarlane obviously had a tremendous amount of control. Liefeld would put a ton of energy into shit, and I was just like, when I look at the Dark Knight Returns, I don't see this perfection in line, you know, and it's like, um, and I think it leans more into the cartooning side of stuff, something closer to Berkeley Breed or Bill Watterson, and,
Yeah.
um, which is the kind of art that I always like related to more than. Believe me, at no time in my life did I look at '70s Marvel and go, or DC and go, yeah, that's my shit. Just doesn't exist for me. I could Neil Adams, I could appreciate what he was doing, right?
Hmm.
Um, but like, um, at no point was I like everything should look like this. It just wasn't my deal. So
Yeah. I can respect that. I mean, yeah, I always preferred more the cartooning aspects of things. I mean, I liked Liefeld because he was over the top. I liked McFarlane because he was like doing cartooning more than like the straight comic book art in a way. Like his stuff always had more of a cartoon feel
yeah,
to
and
it.
Sienkiewicz before them, and
Yeah,
Sienkiewicz was where I'll never forget the first comic I really remember ever seeing was Dune, his Dune adaptation. And
his Dune.
if people know me, I'm not a Dune guy. Couldn't
Nope.
even finish the last movie. I quit halfway through. I'm like, well, I'm out. But his artwork just it's explosive.
Yeah,
Like dude,
his
I think he's
Moon
the
Knight.
best illustrator that comics has ever produced. Is Bill Sienkiewicz. I don't think there's anything he can't do.
Yeah,
Like
I
he
agree
can
with that.
ink, he can paint, he can cartoon, he can photorealism, he can do everything. I don't. If you put Bill Sienkiewicz on Bone and you put Bill Sienkiewicz on Daredevil, he can do both.
Yeah,
Like how many people can pull that shit off?
not many.
And if you put him on movie posters, he can do movie posters.
Yep.
I had to jump in a work meeting earlier and may have missed it, but do you have any pieces opening for sale on your website? You just kind of sell items in the moment online. So I will have stuff on the website that doesn't sell when I took everything down for a reason. So couple reasons. I have a vendor that was shipping incorrect items to people that cost me some money, and then I personally have not had a ton of time to be doing that stuff. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put some stuff back up on there, but I'm also gonna make sure very clear that I only ship. Um, I package ship everything. I pack things on Sundays, right? So uh, if you buy something on a Monday, I'm not touching that thing till Sunday. I'll make it very clear to people. But so I will have. I put the call out to the socials just because more people are willing to send me a link there. Getting them to go to a store is tough, but I will be putting more stuff in there. And as I do sketches in the future, what I'll probably do is just bundle them and put them there. You know, but it just depends on my availability to ship things. So,
Okay, so I should be getting my piece sometime next week to the week after.
hey man, with the way the post office moving, I don't fucking know. Like I could have that in the mail tomorrow, and it could still not leave the post office till Sunday. I don't
Oh
know.
yeah, no, I'm not complaining. Just so I know, that's all I care about. So
In a post 2020 world, our post offices.
yeah,
Yeah, but like something had to change there. Austin, thank you so much. Shipping, yeah, yeah. And they normally don't, but like the thing that was killing me. So like I have a certain amount that I charge for prints, and I've had a really good vendor for years. They ship things flat. They're really good. But like for whatever reason, they started shipping incorrect stuff. And I mean, I made like a couple $100, and then it cost me a little bit more than that to fix all of it, and they didn't want to fucking refund me, like I still haven't got a refund for their fucked up shit. And I'm just like, this is bullshit, man. So what I've done is I can't find one of these automated vendors that I like. I've tried them all from Printful. I tried everybody. Like I like their shirts, but when it comes to prints, I've not liked any of their work. So the only vendor that I have liked has been Costco, actually. In terms, they ship things triangularly in a triangular. It's folded up. It's rolled up, which is annoying, but the it ships in a triangular cardboard package.
Hmm.
So it's almost impossible to fuck that packaging up with the way the post office does shit because of the triangular shape. And it's super rigid, super thick cardboard. So I need to go and tell people I use Costco. My prices reflect what I charge for prints. I don't want to be hearing shit about what Costco. This only costs this much. I don't care. I might be $100 for that print. That's what I charge for my work.
Yeah.
Like I'm gonna be very clear. Like I go with quality and reliability. And then I have to make a certain. I get my cut. You're supporting Rob when you buy a print. So because prints to me are like they're like a bonus thing for folks. Like they're not. I don't make a ton of money off. I make my money off this commissions. That's where I make real money. So, but because some of those prints I put 100 hours into shit, I want to make more than like $1 when it prints. Like I think I earn that. So
Oh god, yeah.
yeah.
I'm not one to
But
complain about an artist making money, so yeah.
I know, but I have to put it there so because some folks, Allison, they just don't fucking get it.
No, I know.
You
You're
know,
absolutely right.
Pretty sweet. Most of the prints I get are rolled up and it takes forever to flatten out. Yeah, and I'm gonna make clear because some people bought older prints and they're like, "Oh, you use the shit flat." I'm like, I know, I hear you, but I mean, I would love to keep my previous vendor. I would love to. I love their work, but I can't be having. I mean, they ship like one person bought all this stuff and they ship like it was pictures of rocks. I don't even know what the fuck this is. Like it's someone else's order, obviously, but it was that like 5 times. I was this is ridiculous. You know. So I just everyone that got fucked up. I even went out my way to like I drew them sketches and sent a bunch. They don't want to ask for this shit, but I sent a bunch of shit because I'm like I can't have this. I need people to know that
No.
when they buy stuff from me, they're getting good shit. So, but I tried this past month. Once I took everything down, I just went and tried every service because I would prefer an automated service. I don't have to do shit, but I couldn't get one of them to like uh, print something that I was like, yeah, that looks cool. Oh, that's some bullshit. They didn't refund. No, they didn't. So it's a problem. So all I know is like with the Costco stuff, it looks great. Might be rolled up, but it looks great. So when I went to
Well,
con and I got cool posters from folks, all that shit got rolled up anyway. So we
yeah,
just all have to deal with it.
it's the way it is.
But my primary goal is to be making things, not printing and shipping stuff. So like everything's a priority. So I have time on the weekend to do that. So that's where it has to go. But
Then so be it.
yeah, sorry. But some folks, Allison, they just like, well, I'm not Amazon. I'm not Big Bad Toy Store.
Yeah. Well, it's like when I'm mailing stuff out, it usually gets mailed on a Wednesday. It goes. It doesn't technically get mailed till Thursday, but I have a friend who owns a shipping company, and I get her everything on Wednesday. Usually when she comes by my place for a little bit, and we hang out. So then she ships it. I have the added luck though that she does my packaging for me. So
About a silkscreen print from James Obar. Never rolled it
ooh,
up. Hold that thing with 2 fingers. Yeah, I know, right, Brian? Also, Kevin Eastman responsible for The Crow too. The Crow was
yeah.
originally published through Tundra.
Well, the back end of it was because it was originally in Caliber Comics, but yeah,
Yeah,
Caliber Comics presents #1, I think, and yeah, then they basically
caliber.
published the rest of it.
I think they last like 3 seconds.
Yeah.
Then it went to kitchen sink, and then
Yep.
lost track of it after kitchen sinks.
I have I have the Caliber Comics presents um no, it's a Crow. Okay. Speaking of the Crow, one just landed outside. uh, yeah, I have the original Caliber Comics presents, and I think I have the first trade that they published of it. I think that was published through
I
Kitchen.
I agree, Elliot, but I gotta put disclaimers, and all that stuff just takes time for me. So it's like, so it's like that's why there's nothing in the store, but there will be.
Mm,
I appreciate it, you know. But I guarantee you, like, I'm gonna get pretty busy on stuff, and then there won't be a time. At least with the store, like the prints, I can just since Costco handles all the shipping and I can trust it, I can just get that done. But I really wanted an automated service. I don't have to deal with it. But
yeah.
fucking, so I really like Printful shirts. All my Megavision shirts I go through with them, and when I want it my own, when I make my own little custom tees, I just do it through there on my own. But I did not like their paper. So
Yeah. Is what it is. My friend Ian doesn't even really make prints unless they're his original stuff. He is hyper paranoid about copyright. Can't blame him.
all they
But
do is just send you a takedown notice. They don't give two shits. And
yeah,
I just don't label anything. So I
yeah.
just put 90s cartoon characters, like 90s game thing. Like I don't. What's fucking weird is the only person that's fucking made a big deal about it. Well, whoa, okay. The only place that's made a
What was that?
big deal about it was I did this cover, this Grand Theft Auto cover for this French magazine, and Take Two, fucking anytime I put that up anywhere, those motherfuckers are like, we don't want you, don't no one sells. I'm like, I legit did this for fucking the rollout of this fucking re-release game you guys did. They don't give two shits. So it's like it got approved by you fucking dicks. So
Yeah,
I'll
that's
never
kind
print
of
that one.
it's kind of crappy.
So yeah.
That's very crappy. Excuse me. Do you print that out in orange or your usual red? Might just be lighted.
No, it's orange.
Oh, okay.
I like the way it looks. Actually, it's when I sketch. If you look back, I was doing like these landscape sketches a couple years ago.
Mm-hmm.
I do them with this pumpkin orange pencil I really like, and then these red wine inks. And like I have the pumpkin orange pencil somewhere around here. Where is it? And so, although I've been doing these in red for a while, I just enjoy sketching with the pumpkin orange. So I was like, I'll just use pumpkin. And the orange actually worked better with watercolor anyway because when I would print out something to do watercolor over, it just bleeds. It has a sepia thing if the ink bleeds. So
Well, that works.
yeah, and yeah, I just like the way it looks.
That's all that matters. From Elliot.
Whoa, hey, Mister Good. Oh, hey, Elliot. Thank you. I appreciate it, Elliot. Elliot, fucking MVP today, my friend. Thank you so much.
So Raph stole the Shredder's stuff.
Well, I don't really like how they're making Raph buff now because he's the strong one. I'm like, no, he's just got inner rage. Why is he buff?
Yeah,
So
I
I always
agree
felt
with
he
you.
should just have one hand on the dark side. You know, like to me, like you go into his room and it's just filled with notebooks and crazy sketches, and you know what I mean. Like
Yeah,
it's his sketch. He should be like he really is the most Yonen Vac. When I think of like Squee and Johnny the Homicidal Maniac, like he'd be in there drawing those fucking fucked up outlaw comics and shit, and making knives and shit. Like he should just be like the guy. You're like, I don't know, man. He might go the wrong way, and it's not that case at all. It's just I just think like some kids are, they have more anger. He's got inner rage.
yeah, that's kind of how I always saw him.
Super appreciate it, Elliot. Thank you so much. So, yeah, I really like Yonen's Donnie versus Raph. Like, it's the best turtles I'd seen since the first movie. And I'm like, that's what they should be making more of. Like, I
Hmm.
love the animation on Rise of TMNT, but I'm not, I've said this before, I'm not a fan of Lawson's art. And the art style follows Lawson's art style from the books. And I'm just not a fan of it. The way he draws is just, I don't like it. He's a great artist. I recognize that. It's not my thing, like his stuff. The only thing he ever did that I ever
Yeah,
liked was the first Turtles adaptation. But he went over, Kevin Eastman did all the layouts for that,
right.
so he was really following, Eastman's like hand on that one. Um, but his own stuff, I can't stand it. Like it, I don't know how to describe. Sometimes art just doesn't work with people. So,
Yeah.
but the animation on it's great. But I was like, Raph is, it's crazy. So Raph is so big, right? Have you seen the comic Alice and Ray? Yeah, that's the first time I found Sam Keith's art because he was the artist on that.
Yep.
But yeah, but in 2004, I was posting when I finally had time to draw illustrations. I started drawing turtles, and there was this animation called El Cid that was being developed out of Spain, and there's these really big dudes and this giant chunky art style, El Cid, Go look it up. And I was like, that would work. That would be cool with turtles because I'd never seen giant turtles before. So I started doing this giant turtle art, and I was posting on this site called Sketchbook Sessions, which Shane Lyons was hosting. He's a concept artist, and you've seen his work, trust me. And
Yeah, everybody knows his stuff, even if they don't know his stuff.
this artist Scott Cohn was on there, and he was currently drawing turtles for Eastman for Laird, the TMNT book, and um, the one where they killed Splinter in the first two issues, and I stopped buying it. But he offered me to he wanted to know if I'd draw a backup story. You know, he's like, "There's no money in it because there wasn't any money." I'm like, "I don't care. I'll draw turtles for free." And so I mean, I'd love my first published work to be turtles anyway. That'd be perfect. So I did these samples, and Laird was like, "They're too big." And then that was it. I'm like, I could draw this. It's like I can draw this differently, but he didn't want to deal with it. So now I look at Raph in that cartoon. I'm like, or especially the Michael Bay movies. I'm like, they ain't that big a difference, like between what I was doing and what's going on today. However, because of that Michael Bay series, like I've since like been like, I I think their proportions should be, for me, there's somewhere between the CGI cartoon and Donnie versus Rav. And if I was
Yeah,
drawing them more Mirage like, they would be way shorter. They would be built like chunkier, shorter versions of the intro to the cartoon or,
yeah,
you know. So, but I think having them stretch and squash is great for like being teenagers. So to keep them really small doesn't make a lot of sense if you want to do stretch and squash, like because then they'd be like slaves to proportion. They'd be like, oh, yeah. Plus I love big feet. It's that Sam Keith influence in me. And I have big feet, Capcom feet, so.
yeah.
Brie Larson feet. You know what I'm talking about? Like,
Oh, yeah. Exactly what you're talking
yeah, I was like, finally a superhero with my kind of feet. My buddy was trying to shit on it. He's like, you got big feet. I'm like, I got big feet, asshole. And he loves Street Fighter. I'm like, every Capcom character, she's got Bangus feet. Who the fuck cares? Like,
about. Yeah. Well, as a girl with big feet, yeah, I appreciate it.
speaking of which, that Ms. Marvel trailer I thought was excellent. I did
Oh, I
not
love.
expect them to throw in Scott Pilgrim stuff into the presentation.
That's
Like,
what made it perfect for me. I'm like, yes, they got Kamala Khan.
some people are
And
flipping over that her hand is cosmic instead of big straight. I'm like, I guess the average person doesn't understand the term visual continuity.
yeah,
Like if you put her and all the cosmic people up and like, I'm telling you, the big skin hand thing was a bad design move on the comics side, not the movie side. She should have had a big cosmic power hand that could charge up and have like a big glowy thing in the comic.
that would have been
That's
cool.
that's bad art direction on Marvel side, not the movie side. Because I guarantee you, when I first saw it, I'm like, oh, is she like Kid Fantastic? I'm like, no, it's Ms. Marvel. I'm like, so she got the Marvel. It's cosmic powers, right? They're like, yeah. I'm like, that thing should be glowing. Like, this is a problem. In black and white, you can't tell it's a cosmic hand. It should be glowing. So it's
Right.
like, and I remember getting that argument with a friend. No, I like it. I'm like, okay, dude. Like, whatever. And then in the mood, now it's glowing. That they're changing it. I'm like, you spoil little bastards.
Yeah,
Like
basically.
you sound like those DC guys who are like, I won't watch a Batman movie unless he has white glowy eyes. Like
Uh,
I got Capcom feet. Why didn't they?
yep, I have that problem. I can't shop for women's shoes anywhere. Special order if I want girly shoes.
Yeah, but Sam Keith, I mean, has has always been in my top five.
The
I
second
didn't
I
put
saw
his.
his work
Go
in
ahead.
Marvel Comics Presents, I was hooked on him.
Yeah, I came across that radioactive hamster thing from a friend, like so, but I didn't really recognize his name until it's really weird. Charleston Chew did a reprint of the Wolverine stuff.
Yeah,
You can get this Charleston Chew like sponsored Marvel Presents Wolverine, and I got the Wolverine story in there that he had done. Like I was like, look at this fucking stuff, dude's hairy. Like this is great. He's got spaghetti fucking clothes and shit. I fucking love this.
yeah.
Um, and I gotta be honest though, man. I think my favorite thing he's ever drawn is actually the Hulk Wolverine ghost story that people seem to not like. But
That was a fun one.
the coloring, I think Richard Eisenhower is the perfect match for digital coloring
Hmm.
because Eisenhower's work is the only thing that when Keith puts in a painted panel, like Eisenhower's stuff is painterly anyway. So like it all matched up to me, like um,
I liked
because you can't.
mhm. Finish.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say I enjoyed his Sandman a lot, but the thing that I loved is black and white Nightmare on Elm Street.
Wait, that never did that actually publish? I only saw the cover.
No, it never
Like,
fully published, but there's
yeah,
a few pages that he did, and oh my god, are they awesome?
I know, but he can't ink like that no more. So like,
No,
yeah, he literally destroyed his hand doing those crazy inks. So, or even when he was doing pencils, like all the little noodling and shit, just blew his
yeah,
hand out the door. So, it's a bummer.
yeah. I remember seeing that, and I was just like, this is the Freddy comic I want. If Freddy's in a comic book, I want him to look like this.
I agree, you know, but yeah,
Most of
Sam was like that blend between Sienkiewicz and Frazetta, and like you know McFarlane and them. Like it was like that perfect blend.
yeah, he really was. I feel bad for him.
He definitely, if there was ever a case to be made for imposter syndrome, he might be the
Yeah,
textbook. He might be the one you might want to study the most.
yeah. Then there's that series, how um how the Max killed Sam Keith,
Jerk
something like that.
Comics. If you
Yeah,
guys aren't familiar on YouTube, there's a YouTuber called Jerk Comics. He's not a jerk. He's super fucking cool. He did a 5-part series on how the Max killed Sam Keith. I strongly recommend.
yeah,
The first episode's way down there, and then he got the last, 4 parts out in the last 6 months. I think it was like a year. Took him a while to put it together, but it's super good.
yes, it is. Yeah, if you want to really kind of look into how he um kind of deconstructed or fell apart in a lot of ways. Oh,
Charlie Martin says, I love drawing traditional. I also do a lot of stuff using digital as well. Do you? And what's your thoughts on Clip Studio Paint? Find the most amazing software for illustration. So I drew this digitally in Photoshop. I don't use Clip Studio Paint. I own it. Every couple months I break it out and try to do what I do in Photoshop and Clip Studio Paint, and it don't work for me. Um, it I use a Photoshop and Lazy Nizumi Pro so I can control the stabilization when I need it. But I don't do halftones, so I don't need it for that. And I think the book projects are pretty cool. How you can put everything into a book, but you can also do that in InDesign if you just have InDesign.
yeah.
Um, so I think if I were younger and just starting out, like Clip Studio Paint's way easier to get into than Photoshop. But
It's
I've been
also
using Photoshop
cheaper.
since it's also way cheaper.
Yeah,
But I bought a version of Photoshop a long time ago, and you can always steal that shit. Like when you're younger, I don't care if you steal shit. Like as you get older and you can afford it, then you pay for it. I don't. I get. Like a lot of graffiti artists who ended up becoming $1 million people, they did so because they couldn't afford stuff when they were younger. And then when they get older, they pay it forward. So
Yeah.
I'm fine with that. But I think it's just more intuitive for people. And had Clip Studio Paint been around in 1995, I would have started using that. But I just know Photoshop so well. It's like, and if you follow any of my digital stuff in Photoshop, you'll see there's not a lot to my process. Like I just had it all worked out. So, um, but I've tried working in there, and it just all my shortcut key commands are built into my left hand. Like it's like there's a muscle memory there, and there's like I do this thing in Photoshop where if you like hold down the left key, alt click, there's some fucking thing I do where I can like select any layer just by clicking on it, and it jumps to the layer. It's not in the instruction manual. Like, can't do that in Clip Studio Paint, and I can't go back to like, there's like certain things I just can't do. I'm like, I can't go back. I'm going backwards. So the radio tools look cool, but then I'm like, I'll just not draw things perfect. So like, like I see that guy Lost Bear Studios, one of those creature box dudes doing the Clip Studio Paint. And he's like, everything's all fucking super cool and super perfect, and I'm like, yeah, I guess I just won't do that. Like, you know,
Yep.
I'll just let that one go. That's fine.
Oh. Yep. That sounds right.
Yeah, there's so much. I mean, the one thing that the program that I do think is super fucking helpful is Procreate has an animation setup. So I had to do at a client on Berserk Boy, they wanted to see when we were doing the trailer, they wanted to see an animatic for a whole element that didn't actually make it into the final bit, but they wanted to see an animatic. And I was like, Photoshop's animation fucking sucks. I hate the fucking thing. And
Oh yeah,
so
it's hog
I haven't
garbage.
animated, and I'm like, I'm not going into After Effects and photo and Premiere for this shit. So, but I had heard great things. I follow Otis Frampton, who's a great artist, and he's always doing shit in Procreate with the animation tool. I'm like, you know what? I'll just try Procreate's animation, and I got that whole thing like just straightforward, brute, fucking animated in like a couple hours, having never used it. And so like I would say if you wanted to do any quick animations, you got to do animatic, or you want to do that is phenomenal work. The problem is drawing on the iPad with that fucking pencil gives me carpal
I
tunnel. So
I hate that
yeah,
stupid pencil.
you bought this device called the TabMate that works with Studio and it looks like nunchucks, but
Yeah, it's this.
yeah. There's all sorts of cool shit you can get, dude. Like macro key fucking things, all sorts of cool stuff. Yeah, man, dude, look, my advice would be if you create great shit with that software, dude, just focus on making the cool stuff. Like I just so many times when I was younger, I used to use a program called Painter, which I really preferred over Photoshop. But Painter had this problem. It's not there anymore, but it certainly was in 2002, 2003. It had this problem where it fucking printed like dog shit. Like purples were all fucking out of gamut. Like so I had to take everything back into Photoshop. I had this Captain America piece that I did that was blue, and it came out like I don't know the max. It came out so fucking weird. So I had to go into Photoshop and do color correction. Plus, when I started working at t-shirt studios, I would be like, I really know Painter. And like, yeah, you're using Photoshop or you're fired. So like, you know, industry jobs demand. It's not so much anymore, but they certainly were, demanding of like, uh, we got to be able to open up the PSDs. They got to be layered. They have to be in this format. You have to do this. I mean, one of the reasons why I don't do t-shirt work now is they want everything in vector. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not doing any of that. So I guess I'm out. I don't know why. There's no reason for it. T-shirts are still printed on screens. They don't have to be vector. You know, like none of
Yeah.
the Marvel art that you get from a when a piece of McFarlane art ends up on a T-shirt. Uh, sh- Spoilers, it wasn't vector.
No.
So yeah, but I'm just glad you found some software you love using, man, because it's so great that a lot of these software packages just don't get in the way of people making shit anymore, you know?
I mean,
But
I
I get,
primarily use Clip Studio, so I get it. I like Clip Studio a lot. Um,
yeah, you use it though, right?
yeah, I use it
Primarily?
constantly. Yeah, I use it. I use it for everything. Well, actually, it's not true because I still have to use Photoshop for certain things. I just can't get around it. So,
Right,
damned if you
right.
do, damned if you don't.
And I spend a lot of time making Photoshop do what I want it to do. Like, it's not the best way to work, but now I'm like, I'm not changing any of my shit. This is I'm focused on how I work now. I just want to get to making stuff. I hate fudging with sliders and endless fucking. I can't stand it.
Rob is stubborn.
No,
Am
I'm
I?
just getting older. I don't have the time for it. Like I just want to be making shit. You know?
I'm joking. Somewhat.
No. I mean, I am stubborn, but that's not exactly the reason
No.
for it.
No.
Believe me, like if it was like something that was making my life easier, I'd use it in 2 seconds. But
I tried to switch to Painter a couple of years ago, and I'm just like, no, all my stuff's in Clip Studio. And I hadn't touched Painter in probably since the '90s. So yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I like it.
I do a lot of lasso tool stuff now when I color, so Painter doesn't make a lot of sense for me. Then the same with Procreate. Like my good friends were like, "Oh, you color in Procreate?" I'm like, "I do a lot of lasso tool, and I don't know if you've used Procreate's lasso, but it's fucking horrible.
Yeah.
It's the most unintuitive piece of shit fucking thing I've ever fucking had to use." And I love that software, but I'm like, I think if you're gonna use perspective guides, I think Procreate has the best
Well,
there
they're
is for
better than
that.
Clip Studios.
However, for me, I can literally just sketch on a piece of paper everything I need and then just trace in Photoshop. Like my ability to sketch perspective on paper is way faster than any guide will ever give me. Like it's just I got real lucky with that. I spent so many years I could draw anything, just loosely get it all fucking there. I don't need, you know, the perspective grids and shit. Like I can just do it here and then scan it. And I can do it small on a piece of paper, scan it in, and
Blow it up,
so
then trace it. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
you know.
I was it the way I finally like really started practicing perspective is I grabbed graph paper and I just kept doing it till I didn't need the graph paper anymore.
That makes sense. I think I always put a lot of effort into it, but like I said, the one that really changed my like thought process on thought processes whatever on it was when I finally got Scott Robertson's DVDs, and then I was
Oh,
able
his
to like
stuff is great.
articulate. Yeah, because he articulates what I was doing intuitively. He's probably one of the best of all time, not just our generation, but in modern commercial art.
Yeah.
And his
Yeah, his
ability to
stuff.
articulate all that stuff was like, oh, that's exactly what I've been thinking, and working in a volume and how to do. As long as you understand parallel lines, you can draw. You don't need a giant ruler hanging off your, like Jeff Darrow, yeah, Jeff
Taro,
Darrow.
yeah.
He has this giant board that his dad made him, where he can extend this ruler off like 6 feet away, and then everything lines up. But like, if you just understand this line is coming here, which means in parallel, everything would be parallel to that as it recedes. And then over here, everything would be parallel to that. And then you don't need any of that. Like it's kind of just giant overkill. And people can't really, you kind of getting in the way of energy at some point too when you're doing too much perfection. So I mean, as much as I love Jeff's work, there's sometimes it can feel real static. You
No,
know,
you get the mechanical look to it.
yeah. So, and if that's what you want, then do
More
that.
power to you.
Yeah. Clip
Calvin's a
Studio, Affinity Photo Publisher. I know, right? It's too many apps there, buddy. You're using too many.
yeah, that's way too many.
I think if you had to do vector work, I think Affinity is way better than Illustrator. I would stick to Affinity Designer for that.
I've never even touched Affinity, and I intend to
It
keep
you
it.
know
So,
if you ever use Illustrator and you're like, I just want to do this thing, like touch, grab something. You just want to do something real basic, like fucking select something. In
it's a pain in
Affinity,
the
you can do that. Yeah, Illustrator is like the worst program ever made. I'm like, it shouldn't be called Illustrator. It should be called Tracer. That's all anyone ever fucking does in this program. I'm like, no one's illustrating shit. It wasn't until like what the Mondo stuff came out that people started. But even then, it's all trace shit. So like now people are doing stuff, but I'm like, fuck that program, dude.
yeah,
Wish I had
no, I.
VR so I can. Yeah, Scott Robertson.
Hmm,
I wish Dreams was on PC, so you can export files out of Dreams. Dreams is probably the best VR content creation I've seen, but it's still tied to a PlayStation.
I haven't fiddled with that. I haven't done much with VR.
Dreams is the only thing to use for VR if you're gonna make something, but it's really you can't really like again you can't use it in other programs, but everything else is dog shit because it's just so unintuitive. You're just fighting the software to select things. And it was up, Calvin.
I design artwork for headstones and monuments for a living. I'm not working on that. I still love drawing cartoons. It kind of mixed up my software depending on the task at hand.
Oh yeah, I know that
Which,
feeling.
yeah,
Oh
still,
sure, Charlie. Yeah, I'll answer any questions. I'll all over explain it. Some dudes go, "Come on, I get it. Shut up now." Every now and then I get one of those sucks, and I'm like, oh, now I'm gonna talk about this for 8 more hours, even though I'm the only one in here. I don't care. I'm one of those dudes.
it's all good.
Like someone on the Star Wars podcast that wrote in on the. I do a daily Star Wars cast, making Star Wars.net. If you're interested in Star Wars, that's the place to go. And someone in the chat, in the comments, goes, "These videos are too long. They should be like no more than 10 minutes. No one has time for this." And so now I make sure every day I start the show with the watch. I'm like, we got 10 minutes, and then 2 hours later, I'm like, guess we fucked that one up. Like I'm not. you know, oh, this took longer than 10 minutes. Oh well.
I haven't watched that for a bit. I need to get back to it. I love you
You've
guys on
been
that
missing a
show.
lot of spoilers. Jason Investment Bulletin have been dropping all the stuffs on Kenobi and Mando season 3.
Yeah, I've seen the was it the headers for a few of them, and it's been like I gotta reach out to Jason again. Then I forget because my brain.
And then
So,
people get busy, but yeah, like Jason Ward is the legit. He's a legit insider. Like, dude,
yeah,
don't
he
make nothing up.
he just
I've been
knows
following.
things.
No, he's just a good people person. He knows how to get out there, boots on
Oh
the
yeah,
ground,
he
and
knows
meet
how to talk
people,
to
and
people.
yeah, so he does the work. But like, I've been following his work since 2005, so he's been
Yeah, like
scooping
Jason.
Star Wars for a long time, folks.
He was trying to hunt down prequel stuff when like and getting legit things when nobody else was.
Yeah, he's the one who broke Padme's. The one I first found out was he's the one who broke Padme's funeral because they put it in a children's book and he had access to the children's book, so he put that out there. He's like, look. He was like, shit, you really were on my eye. I was there for that. Like, this guy knows what he's talking about.
Okay, I'm not noodling that anymore.
Nine. It's 9/11. God damn it. Bad luck. Numerology with Glennis McCann. It's funny, dude. Glennis McCann is in an episode of Seinfeld. One of them. I was rewatching a couple years ago, and I'm like, that's fucking Glennis McCann.
Do you drink coffee? Because those lines are straight as fuck.
Yeah, I do.
He drinks a lot of coffee.
They could be straighter, but just
Yeah.
trying not to.
Oh, that was one of the other great things about Scott Robinson. Like one of the very first things he teaches how to draw a straight line without a ruler.
Yeah, so let me give you guys some advice. You can do this no matter where you're at, whether you're at a job. This is how I learned how to do all this, right? I'm going to show this right now, right? Junk paper. Get yourself a Sharpie, something cheap, right? Here, I'll do this with some cheap ass shit. Sharpie, right? And just do this. 1, 2. Draw 2 dots. And then take this and ghost, and then in one straight line there. And then ghost this. And then what you do is you take these 2 dots and you make them go further. And what you want to do is start to learn to draw at your elbow, not your wrist so much. And it's okay if you're off a little bit, but then you can just go further out. I wouldn't go that far out right away. I would do a lot of little ones first. And then what you want to do is you want to be looking at the where you want it to go. I'm looking at the other dot. So what you're just training your arm to do is not draw straight. You're training your hand and your arm to go where you're looking. Because a lot of times when you're not confident, let's say you're like, I gotta draw over here, and then you're like, "Buh!" Like, because there's no coordination there, right? And they're like, I can get more eye to hand coordination playing Overwatch. Like, no, this is how you get eye to hand coordination. Like,
Yeah.
and then I can go. See how that one's off, right? I should probably goes first. That's pretty close. Obviously, it goes a little crazier, but you can see. So I did this every day for 2 years, 2002 to 2004. No, I fucked that one up. But I fucked that one up. Let's get that again.
But you
So
get the idea.
I covered that line 3. I covered that same line 3 times. You know, so
Yeah.
like that is, and that will help you build confidence too. When you're inking, you can then finish your own work in inks and not be sitting here like, oh, I'm afraid, oh, I'm gonna fuck it up. You know.
No, that's where you get the term also throwing the line. So if you ever hear somebody say, "Oh, I got to throw some lines," because they're
You've been
moving with
hanging
their
out with
elbow.
Peter Palmiotti too long. That's an old guy term.
Little,
Throwing lines across the page. That's some old. I ain't heard that shit since 1995.
yeah, it's because I'm like he's one of my best friends.
I know. That's an old illustrator shit right there. Uh huh. Uh huh.
Yep.
Yeah. I told you when I go to Comic, I grew up in San Diego, so when I go to Comic Con, I never took a portfolio because I knew I wasn't good enough. But what I would do is they would have portfolio reviews because editors still went to cons at that time. And so I would always ask them, hey, can I watch the portfolio reviews? And they'd go, sure. Because I was a little kid. I was, I was a teenager, but they're like, sure. And I remember every time I would say that, the next artist up would always give me this look like, you fucking dick. You know what I mean? And I just sit there with my soda, like, all right. And I would watch 50 reviews versus getting my one, you know?
Yeah.
And anytime they would have critiques, the guys would be giving them a critique, and then the editor was always look at me and make sure this and make sure that, you know? And always at this artist's expense. And I remember this, I just never forget. There was this African American artist who he was good, man. Like he was like really good. But this fucking editor just did he had style to his stuff. I want to say almost like a Stroman kind of esque style to his stuff. And I was
Interesting.
like, this dude was super good. But I remember this guy was like, some of it was a little flatter. Like, Willis Portasio stuff's a little flatter than Jim's, right? It's a
Yeah.
little, yeah. And he wasn't feeling it, and this dude was like, and then make sure you're doing 3-dimensional feather, and then the artist looked at me, and he was looking at me like, you fucking little prick, and then I could see the look at me like he's being, and I'm like, and I sat there, I'm like, you should take this over to Image. This shit is dope. And then and this guy couldn't stop laughing. And then the editor was like, all right, I think we're done here. Let's and then I was like, I'll leave. I was like, you should take that. That is the fucking cool. I didn't agree with his, like, I didn't agree with it. Like, the dude was fucking,
And
I
that's
don't know
wrong.
whatever happened to
Making
that
friends
guy.
and influencing people since the early 90s.
Yeah. Or starting shit with editors.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm always going to have the artist side.
Oh,
I
yeah.
was never go up when you're doing a line, by the way. But,
Always go down.
yeah.
Or to the side.
I like the
Turn
side.
the page.
I think you got my volume up on your side now.
Yeah, I think I do too. Oh, I'm gonna step away for a second anyway. I use the bathroom,
Yeah.
so I'm just gonna mute out and turn off my cam.
Luckily, my commissions are scribbly, so if I fuck up a line, I don't really care. So. Hey, everybody, I gotta kill the mic. I gotta chat with some dude. So, Alton,
Hmm.
I'm still gonna draw because I'm gonna chat. I gotta chat with someone on Facebook, but I gotta kill my mic and mic and whatever. So,
Yep,
if you
I
wanna,
understand.
yeah,
Um,
hit me up on the back. So I'll be here later today. So I'm gonna keep the camera on, but I gotta have a conversation with someone.
yep,